Hey guys, and welcome to a showdown between two mighty warriors. We have Blitzen on the left, in charge of the force of the High Elves, up against Houseboat and the Norscan hordes, who have decided to come and meet their elven enemy here on Crossroads. Should be a super fun game, so let's hop in here and have a quick little look at the builds. So rather nice defensive formation straight out of the gate from the forces of the High Elves. We have two rangers, one on either flank. These guys are dual sword-wielding maniacs who quite happily dive into marauder lines and cut them to ribbons. In the centre of the formation, we do have two units of Silver and Guard. These guys will hold the line for an incredibly long duration. Anti-large as well, always good up against the forces of Norsca. We have two units of Phoenix Guard in the back lines as well. These guys, elite, bad to the bones, anti-large infantry. And then we have some range in the form of Lothran Seaguard with shields in the back line. Lothran Seaguard, once again, pretty good pick here because they can defend themselves up against, hounds and other fast-moving units which can break into your back line, which Norsca are famous for bringing. We have double Handmaiden of the Everqueen as well to do some more Overwatch fire, and we have Lord Teclis leading the forces. The rather frail elf is going to be coming in here with the Sword of Teclis, as well as the Potion of Charoi. We also have Regrowth, Flock of Doom, Enfeebling Foe, Flaming Sword of Ruin, and Nest of Amantok. So wide range of spells here. I think one or two too many. Perhaps I normally like to have my spellcasters with about 3 spells, but still, it does open him up to more possibilities up against his opponent. We have double Illyrian Reaver archers as well on this right-hand flank. Now, for the force of Norsca, looks like they are going to try to hammer down the enemy with some rather elite front line. We have Marauder champions with great weapons, particularly risky here because, of course, they do not have shields, and a relatively okay armor of 80 will not be able to save them from the deadly accurate elven archers. But if they can get in there up close to the enemy, they can certainly do some really decent damage. Just behind them, they are going to be supported by two units of Marauder Hunters with Javelins. Fantastic range option. Rather short range for a range unit all round, but still really nice bonus versus large. Helps them tear apart cavalry. And we do have some Hounds as well, try and push into the back line, one of which is the Beast of Tashnar. The other is some Norscan Ice Wolves. And with some Familiar Warriors with great weapons on this right-hand side. Now for the hero and leadership core, we do have a Skinwolf Werekin, one of the most bad to the bones looking units in the entire game. You know you're in trouble when a gigantic werewolf wearing the skull of a larger creature is charging at you. He's going to be coming in with Ruinous Flesh here, which does give him missile resistance and plus 23 armor to allies within range. That's actually a really cool item that I haven't seen used terribly often. Have to see how he does perform here. With a Shaman Sorcerer of Fire, Burning Head always good up against tightly packed formations that the High Elves are known for. We also have the Flaming Sword and Fireball. And Wolfric the Wanderer on horseback here, so no gigantic mammoth mount, which is a bit of a surprise. I think in general, High Elves really struggle up against large threats because they can push through those shield walls in the front line and then hop on top of those anti-large archers and so forth, who will be whittling them down. But it looks like for the most part, Illyrian Reaver archers are going to be waddling forwards here and starting to pick apart at the Marauder champions, which is a really good idea. It's fantastic value for them all round. You can see they've already left a couple of these Norscans in the mud here and going in for a rather risky charge into the front, just putting a big old middle finger to the Norscans there and charging in there. But the Marauder Hunter Javelins are getting some lovely crossfire now, although they're good micro here by the High Elves, pulling back, dragging some of those champions into their own javelins. But I don't think that was a worthwhile charge in the front line. Archers simply took too much damage there, and they could have sat back and just pestered the enemy. But I still love the war cry from the High Elves and the effort there. Champions are getting dangerously close now, and it looks like the Handmaidens and Lothran Seaguard are going to start focusing down one unit, which is always good to do, whereas the Skinwolf is being picked apart here by one of the Handmaidens. Illyrian Reavers do manage to pull back. Werekin, again, a little overextended from his forces, is deciding to whip around the flank here, which is quite a good idea before you decide, you know what, screw that, I'm going to charge in here and I'll just punch my way through that front line. And in come the Marauder champions, who are going to cleave these poor rangers and Silver and Guard down very quickly. They have a boat in the back lines, but well spotted by the High Elf player here. Looks like he does move forward. For some reason, only some of his unit moved, though, but he managed to dodge with the second one as well. We do have a big fat Flaming Sword of Ruin on Marauder champions. They carve through the enemy, and a big Burning Head is coming down here by the forces of Norsca, but oh no, it is a disaster! So they managed to destroy the Rangers, but at the same time, clear out 2 of their own units of Marauder champions. Looks like it actually kind of carves back through the High Elves there. That was wild. I assume that was cast by the Shaman Sorcerer and not Teclis. It is hard to tell with so many friendly fire kills on both sides. Rangers do get torn apart here, and the Were King is going to start pushing through into the back line. Teclis dropping his nasty spells, Flock of Doom and so forth, to try and break down these champions who have not had a good time here. Consistent arrow fire as well as magical damage has really put them in the dirt. The legendary duel that we've all been waiting for. Teclis with Hunter champions going toe-to-toe with Wulfric the Wanderer. Not something he wants to do for too long, and he's getting beaten back down here quite badly, which of course is to be expected. In the front line, it looks like champions have been forced back by Silver and Guard, which is a disaster for them, although the Marauder Hunter Javelins are now engaged and thrown into Phoenix Guard, which is a perfect target for them. We have some familiar warriors as well who need to get active and moving once more, but of course he is trying to micro elsewhere. A fireball going through Wulfric and hitting Teclis. This could be over for the High Elf forces here, although once again a fantastic dodge. He's been running on point with dodging these spells, getting out of the way of that big burning head. Well, it looks like Teclis may be able to survive here with a regrowth popped down on him. Beast of Tashnar trying to rally and annoy the back line where possible, as more of the champions who have been beaten up for the most part are now struggling to break through the elite Phoenix Guard. Not having a good day for them whatsoever. There's some more units as well from the Norscans who can now rally and come back into the fray. Premier Warriors have managed to get a Flame of Solar Rune popped on them and they're clobbering down the Lothran Seaguard. And yes, Lothran Seaguard do have those spears to get that lovely bonus versus large, but Premier Warriors are still gigantic lizards with huge weapons. They're going to club you to the dirt if you're just a little pointy-eared elfling. Phoenix Guard in the front line have taken a huge amount of damage now, mainly from the Marauder Hunter Javelins, so probably getting some fantastic value. If we look over here now, you can see up to, not too bad, nearly 700 damage value. They're also hitting some of their own troops, however, which is a little bit of a disaster for them. Boach does come down on the Phoenix Guard, but once again dodged by the High Elf player. That's been really on point so far. Teclis was left in the care of some Norscan Ice Wolves, but they were netted, allowing him to escape here, cackle, and run back to the front line, although the Beast of Tashnar are on the prowl. And Teclis probably doesn't have too long left in this world, but any spells he can get off will be a huge boon. There are 43 Marauder Hunters here coming back into the fray who need to focus down the Phoenix Guard. It looks like that's what they're trying to do, but the Lothran Seaguard are now available once more. Going to be shooting in and taking down that rather key unit here for the forces of the Norscans. Over here, Phoenix Guard kind of just staring down at some Marauder champions. Both these guys just giving each other the evil eye before so they do charge into heroic combat, and the Phoenix Guard are going to be a big backbone here. Unfortunately for poor Teclis, he was surrounded by the nasty Warhounds and Beasts of Tashnar with the help of Wulfric, who is now going to have to flee and pull back from the Phoenix Guard. And this is one of the big problems Phoenix Guard have. They just simply have no way of pinning in Wulfric if there isn't, Teclis with nets on the field. So he can simply dart away. But the longer he does disengage, the more value these handmaidens of the Everqueen are going to be getting. Firing on those shots, doing some really lovely damage to Wulfric all round. Phoenix Guard are now in their favourite engagement up against the Familiar Warriors. They're probably going to lose this just due to the fact of how beat up they are, but they're certainly going to be getting some fantastic value here all round. Looks like Marauder Hunters with Javelins have used up their ammunition, so good use of them here to chase off routing units. Well, it looks like they have come in for one of the big final engagements here. The ultimate hunter, Wulfric, has managed to hop onto a handmaiden of the Everqueen here and start to annihilate her, which is a good idea for him where possible, as those pesky handmaidens have managed to force off the Shaman Sorcerer of good consistent fire. If we look over to the left, it looks like the Skinwolf Were King is returning. Of course, he has regeneration. So it looks like the Lothran Seaguard are going to do some lovely crossfire as well, trying to whittle down the Marauder Hunters at this moment. A boat does come down, and this time the Phoenix Guard are unable to dodge it, taking pretty huge damage there. Not terribly huge, but still some okay damage. But they are going to be dealing relatively well here with the Beast of Tashnar. Handmaid of Everqueens trying to hold the line desperately where possible. They do have their lovely spears out and anti-large, but Wulfric is a ferocious combatant, and the Were King as well. The ultimate buddies coming in to try and deal with these pesky Everqueens. Over here, the Lothran Seaguard are managing to beat back the Marauder champions due to some lovely crossfire as well from their allies here, but not without a cost. These guys are pretty beat up at this point, and in the distance we can see the Norscan Ice Wolves are going to be feasting rather happily here on the Lothran Seaguard. And yeah, these guys are probably doomed for at this point. Going to shatter in just a second. Balance power is very heavily at this point in favour of the forces of Norsca, but there is still these Phoenix Guard, and there's a pretty decent number of them here. 69 in fact. It's going to be an absolute nightmare to try and drag down. I think we've seen all the boats used, and the wizard was forced off earlier in the battle. Looks like they're going to unlikely rally. -9 leadership. Still plenty of room though from then to the edge of the board, but very low health here, just with 200 health. A burning head would be so good right about now. So it looks like at the moment the Norscans are just going to be surrounding the High Elf forces and trying to rally their own troops at the moment. The longer the battle goes on, of course, the more regeneration that this Skinwolf Werekin can get. And a not quite full health, but 2/3 health Werekin will certainly be a game changer here. Although Lothar and Sigurd still have some ammunition and can fire in, trying to shoot into the backs of the Marauded Champions now to break them off the field for good. So say Ice Wolves, Beast of Tashnar, and Famir all getting a big fat surround. And here they go, guys, for the ultimate fight of ultimate destiny. And those Beast of Tashnar charge straight into the Phoenix Guard. Phoenix Guard going to quite happily mop them up. The Werekin has darted in here as well, and 100 champions going down on that Handmaiden is going to allow these Ice Wolves to do some absolutely disgusting damage on her, especially if the Werekin getting in here, and you can see she's suffering quite badly at the moment. Famir Warriors are going to start saturating on top of the beasts here at this point. Fight or Die has been popped as well, increasing the melee attack of all nearby troops, and one of the units of Phoenix Guard has started a route for the field, and the Handmaiden Everqueen is isolated and alone, although dueling this Skinwolf Werekin very successfully here. Toe-to-toe of him, he's down to just 600 health, probably going to break and run for the hills here. She is forcing him off, poking him down, and he wants to get out of here as quickly as possible, not having a good day whatsoever. Wolf the Wanderer is now surrounded by Phoenix Guard, and all of a sudden that balanced power swings heavily back towards the forces of the High Elves. They do the Handmaiden of the Everqueen stands, but she does not stand alone here. Phoenix Guard driving off Wulfric, and I think that's going to be game, guys. The Norscan forces are in complete disarray at this point. Maybe they can rally once more, heal up that Skinwolf Werekin, and come back and give it another go. But 65 Phoenix Guard, these guys have chevroned up. They're going to be darting and waddling after Wulfric, trying to get to their brethren, who are boldly rallying to the cause, doing some okay damage to Wulfric as he drives his horse through them at this point. But Norscans are once again trying to pull their forces together. Let's fast forward here as we do come into the final confrontation. Looks like the High Elves just going to solidify their position, try to cover all bases by looking different directions, but this is pretty key. 100 champions has been popped once more, and in comes Wulfric. It looks like Fight or Die has been popped, buffing the leadership and melee attack of all nearby forces, and you can see the Handmaiden is going to be getting torn apart here very, very quickly, but not going down without a fight, doing some massive damage to Wulfric. Of course, Norsca don't have access to healing, but down she goes, leaving the Phoenix Guard alone. It looks like Fight or Die has broken off here, and these units aren't going to be able to do too much damage to him, but with decent cycle charging from the Wereking and Wulfric, maybe they can pull this through. Phoenix Guard leadership, though, is relatively stable at the moment, whereas the Wolves, on the other hand, of course, these feral beasts not known for their leadership, are starting to struggle. Wulfric is absolutely deep into enemy lines at this point. 60 health. He is going to be pulled down from his horse, dragged into the mud, and a halberd shoved into his face. And it shall be a Pyrrhic victory for the forces of the High Elves. Crazy close game there. Really awesome stuff. Massive shout out to Blitzen, aka Slayer3, and Houseboat for a fantastic game. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, feel free to give the video a big old thumbs up and subscribe for more Total War Warhammer content. And that's not all. You're going to be getting some more content today as well. We're going to be live streaming some of my highlight games from their biggest tournament, a huge team-based tournament that is currently running for the next couple of weeks. And basically every week I'm going to be casting my favourite best of 3, my favourite 2v2 games, and my favourite game of the week, every week on a live stream. So that's going to be happening probably in just a couple of hours from the release of this, so feel free to keep your eyes peeled and check it out. Now, well played to both players. There was a few micro issues, I think, on both sides as well, but that's absolutely fine. It was still a fantastic game all round. For Houseboat in general, Wulfric certainly got his value back, assassinating characters left, right, and centre, doing some decent damage with his boat as well. Over 4,000 damage value from Wulfric on a horse. It's very fantastic stuff. Now, I love the idea here of the elite Marauder champions, and some of them got some pretty decent value across the board, but others really struggled, and that is a problem when you bring one of your most expensive units in the roster. Incredibly risky, I think, up against the force of the High Elves. I quite like the thinking, though, because Chosen and Great Weapons are so good in this matchup as well. Perhaps the Marauder champions could believe hard enough and seal victory, but they took some early punishment from the bow fire, and it really did neuter their effectiveness. Hunter Javelins as well didn't quite get into the best positions, but good play of the Beast of Tashnar and the Ice Wolves getting some fantastic value across the board. And honestly, the biggest problem for the force of Norsca here, and probably the reason they lost it, was that friendly fire burning head. Yes, it did huge damage to a unit of Silver and Guard and Rangers, but it also nuked 2 of his own units of champions, and you can see the difference. This one getting 1,500 value, 1,000 value here, and then 400 and 700, certainly not quite so good. As for the force of the High Elves, really fun, interesting build. Again, relatively off meta here. I love the Phoenix Guard coming in and holding the line to the death. It's very, very thematic. When all else fails, you can rely on the glorious Phoenix Guard, getting some lovely value across the board, being elite enough to deal with the champions when they had been weakened by magic and bowfire all round, but also managed to go toe-to-toe and drag down Wulfric at the death there. Elite Reavers, I think it was some good early play, shooting into the champions, but that initial charge was a little bit risky, I'm afraid, and they did kind of get pulled apart themselves. Apart from that, Silver Guard and Rangers didn't really pay for themselves. We don't expect them to up against such an elite build, but they just add more numbers that the Norscans have to grind their way through. Handmaidens, the real MVPs of this build, going toe-to-toe with the Werekin and Wulfric at the death, getting some glorious damage done, 7,000 on one, 3,000 on the other. So I hope you guys enjoyed this very close battle. Until next time, peace, and as always, stay awesome.